That's right. You're locked into the one and only 99 Pod, aka It's Not 1999 Anymore podcast. And I had to abbreviate the name because that name is a little bit too long for my liking. So we're gonna go with 99 Pod as the abbreviation, but you already know what it is, and you know what time it is. Right now on this Friday morning. It's been a long time since we have done a Friday morning or any morning episode on In the Huddle. Back then, last year at this time, we was knocking them out in the morning, but schedule changes and things of that nature. But we had to do a show. The weekend is upon us, but a lot of things happened and circulated and matriculated over the last couple of days. And we have to talk about it before we enjoy our weekends and get back to the nitty gritty, get back to the grind on Monday morning. So without further ado, I'm going to stop talking. We headed for time. I'm going to introduce my co-host real quickly here in the building. One of my co-hosts, Zach, is out. Good vibes by Zay. What's going on?
How you doing, y'all? It's always in paradise. You can't complain. I can't complain like other people do when your team is winning. But we're going to talk about that later in the show. I like, it's always good. It's cold, a little bit cold right now, but that only means the NBA season is among us. Halloween is among us. And most importantly, the NFL season is definitely on its way to its peak and climax. So everything's, can't complain. It's a great time. Jimmy, talk to us. How you feeling?
Yo, Jimmy, before you get in here, I do want to say something, y'all. Like, ladies and gentlemen, I reached out to Michael Myers to come on this podcast. He respectfully left me on scene, but it's all good, bro. It's all good, Michael Myers, MM. It's all good. We're going to survive and do our thing over here and thrive. But nevertheless, as my guy Zay alluded to, let me introduce the one and only James Finnessy from the Bottom Line podcast. What's going on, my guy? And plug yourself in by all means.
Well, the day you throw in a Michael Myers joke is the day I'm in a good mood. What's going on, boys? It's good to see you again. I know it's been a while. I've just been very, very busy with my own show, as you mentioned, Leo. It is now known as Just the Bottom Line. It used to be just a podcast, but ever since I expanded to entertainment, I've been doing a bunch of stuff from sports talk to live streams, interviews, reaction videos, the whole bit. I'm doing everything. So it's more than just a podcast now. It's now known as a show per se. So if you want more info, you can find us on YouTube, Apple, Google, Spotify, the whole deal. Just search for The Bottom Line Jimmy and you can find it. But enough about me. It's good to see you boys again. This is your show. And I just can't wait to dive into these topics because I've been dying to talk about this type of stuff for the longest time, and I just can't wait to let everything out. So what do you say we get into this?
Jimmy's out here moving and grooving. My guy's like Martin from Martin, right? Shanae, he's playing everybody, every character there is out there. I like to see that, and I love to hear
what you did there. By the way, before we begin, I don't mean to cut you off, Leo, but for those that may be watching on these boys' Instagram feed, ignore the Cowboys picture behind me. I am not a Cowboys fan. I just want to make that clear. That would happen to be my father. My father's the Cowboy fan, not me. I just want to make that clear so that nobody's confused. I'm a Giants fan.
Because it would look really bad for your brand. You know what I'm saying? But
exactly.
Nevertheless.
The last thing I want to do is tarnish my brand or anybody else's brand. But I'm a Giants fan, just so we're clear on that. My dad is the Cowboy fan. But anyway, let's move forward here.
Let's get right to it right now, as a bombshell happened last night that, normally I'm on top, but I kind of drifted away from the sports a little bit. I watched me a little NBA. I watched me a little Thursday Night Football. And then I wanted to watch a show to kind of like ease my brain from all the tenacity and things that was going on. Sometimes it could get to you. Watching sports a lot when games are going down to the wire is not really good for your health. So I decided to watch some TV. Hour later, get back on my phone, and I already got all the notifications there was to see as Christian McCaffrey was traded to the 49ers. The Panthers reportedly received 4 draft picks. Did the 49ers give up way too much for CMC? And Jimmy, as I guess, I start off with you.
You're already starting me off with a tough question here. I'm just going to be flat out with you right now because I want to say yes and no. The reason why I say yes is because you gave up 4. First of all, let's just call it like it is. The Panthers are god-awful. The Panthers are not going anywhere. I mean, Baker Mayfield, we thought this was going to be a moment to resurrect his career, but turns out that is not the case. Matt Rule gets fired. The Panthers are just a god-awful mess. Even though their defense is still pretty decent, their offense is still anemic. All right, let's just call it what it is. They're awful. They're not going anywhere. But that's beside the point. So you decide to give up Christian McCaffrey, which I get because, let's face it, McCaffrey deserves a lot better than what he's being dealt with right now. He's a top 10 running back in this league. He deserves better. But here's the reason why I say yes and no to this question here. The reason why I say yes for them giving up too much, meaning the 49ers, is because you gave up 4 draft picks to a guy who, let's be honest here, has not been able to stay consistently healthy the past 2-3 years. All right, let's just call it what it is. So in that perspective, I would say, yes, they gave up too much because you're obviously concerned about his long-term health. At the same time, I say no, because what you also got in return, meaning the 49ers, is you got, like I said, a top 10 running back in this league who's a dual threat. And what I mean by that is he can rush the football and can also get you some receiving yards. And not to mention, you still have George freaking Kittle, one of the best tight ends in football. Yes. Do I trust Jimmy G still? I mean, I do, but I don't. I mean, look, Jimmy G's not a terrible quarterback. He's not. Do I think he can lead them to at least an NFC championship game? Absolutely, I do. And now that he has an extra running back weapon in Christian McCaffrey, I think that makes the 49ers offense a lot more lethal if he stays healthy. And if that happens, don't be surprised if they make a run of the Super Bowl this year. But I think at least with McCaffrey, they can at least go to another NFC championship game. So that's where I'm at right now. I say, yes, they gave up too much because McCaffrey's health is in question, but at the same time, no, because he's a top 10 running back in this league, and he can definitely make an offensive system look a whole lot better. With the 49ers, he definitely makes them a whole lot better than they already were.
Yo, Zay, I'm glad I didn't wear my Muhammad Ali t-shirt. I chose between this plain blue t-shirt and Muhammad Ali. I see you got the Mike Tyson on. That would have just been a weird conflict of interest right there. But go ahead, my brother. You up.
So hey, listen. As long as nobody's biting anybody's ears off, we're good.
Listen, I want to say this. They actually overpaid for Christian McCaffrey. Second, third, and fourth round picks in that 2023 draft is kind of way too much for me, especially, like you said, he played 19 games in the last 3 seasons before playing every game in his rookie year, then his sophomore year, third year. You have to bank on this guy's health on a 49ers team who are just traditionally unhealthy. The last couple of seasons, the 49ers have been martyred by injuries. You overpaid for a guy whose whole career has been martyred by injuries. The reason why I kind of say they overpaid is because there's another guy I've been very avid about talking about who was available on trade block who wants to start in this league, and that's Kareem Hunt. They could have easily got Kareem Hunt from Cleveland Browns for a way cheaper price than what they paid, especially since the Browns don't want to overpay for anybody. They actually want to recoup some assets in case the Deshaun Watson thing doesn't work out. So if they could have gotten a pick or two for Kareem Hunt, they would have taken it, and the 49ers would have had a powerhouse running back who still could run up the middle and could still utilize Deebo Samuel as a running back on his team. With Christian McCaffrey on his team, I don't know how they're going to set up Deebo Samuel, because we've seen Deebo Samuel play his best football as a running back in the backfield. He doesn't play his best football in the slot or as an out receiver. He plays his best football as that running back guy, a guy who's able to take advantage of linebackers lined up against him. He could run he could get motion to anywhere, get open. He could run a wheel route and still get open. They can't play zone against him. They can't man him up. So it's a very difficult situation for any team to match up against Deebo Samuel when he's in that backfield. But I think the 49ers did not utilize their options. I think they just saw Christian McCaffrey. They saw the Panthers, a dying organization. It's like, okay, we see you want to get rid of him, so what's it going to take? And they gave up 3 picks in the in next year's draft. They already don't have a first round pick. And yeah, I think they have 2 compensation picks in the 3rd round, the 49ers, because of Robert Saleh and Mike McDaniels being coached by the opposing teams. So that I understand that they felt like they had picks to give away. But you already don't have a first round pick because of that Trey Lance trade up. You already don't have a 2nd round pick. You just traded away, and you gave away your own 3rd round pick. And you have to hopefully bank on having 2 3rd round picks that's gonna somehow help this team in some way. When this organization has shown that these early picks that they have just don't help them out. I think they didn't do their due diligence of work to really try to get Kareem Hunt. But I think Kareem Hunt possibly would have been a better fit for this team because it gives him that powerhouse run up the middle running back where team's going to have to stack the box to really stop him from running up the middle. But, it's Christian McCaffrey's a good player. We're not saying he's not talented, but the brother can't stay healthy, and that's the biggest issue for me.
I'm in the middle. I'm torn, but I got to pick a side. First off, I disagree with your comments about Deebo Samuel being primarily effective as a halfback, a tailback. Like, I really think he's underrated as a wide receiver alone. Like, when we go back to that Monday Night Football game, when he snagged that ball out the air against the Rams and he took it to the house, that was Deebo making a play with his hands, not with his legs. Yeah, with his legs, but with his hands first, and then his legs second. So I think when you look at Deebo and some of the explosive plays downfield, even if he was to just strictly play his natural position, he'll still be an effective player and probably arguably the best wide receiver on this team. Not the slight Ayuk. I think he's a capable guy as well.
And by the way, Leo, I don't mean to cut you off, my man. I apologize. But just one more thing about Deebo Samuel. This is a guy who wanted to be traded before the season started. And now look what he's doing.
Exactly. So you have that situation. Now, to talk about CMC, I guess I would say it's a good move. And normally, I don't like selling away my soul. I don't like selling away my assets and my futures for guys, especially guys that haven't played a lot of football. But he's healthy right now. But there's half a season left. So he's healthy right now. That's a good sign. And he's probably going to get some rest because he might not play this Sunday anyway. So that's a week that he can rest up. And also, you still got Elijah Mitchell that's going to come back in a couple of weeks. You don't have to overuse CMC. You don't. You have even Jeff Wilson has been doing all right. You don't have to use him. So it's all about how Kyle Shanahan wants to use him. Now he has the luxury of using him as a runner as much as a pass catcher. And when I look at Kyle Shanahan's history, he really doesn't use those backs as pass catchers. Now he can. Now he'd be foolish not to. So you look at CMC, 4.6 yards per carry and 8.4 yards per reception this season. Now you have a guy out of the backfield that Jimmy G, who loves to get the ball out quick, can get the ball to him along with those other dynamic wide receivers. The thing I like about the 49ers and what makes them so hard to beat is the fact that they have multiple guys on a team that can do multiple things outside of their natural position. Deebo, he could be halfback like you alluded to. He could be a wide receiver. George Kittle, he can block. He's one of the best blocking tight ends. He can catch. Right now, you got CMC who can catch and can run. The only thing that the 49ers need to worry about is injuries, but that's bigger than CMC. Like, that's a team thing. That's a natural team thing. Right now, their whole defensive side is hurt. So now you just added more firepower to your offense, and now you should be competing for a Super Bowl this year.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I happen to agree. Like I said before, I think they can at least make the NFC Championship game. The only thing I will question, again, two things. One, CMC's health, and two, can Jimmy Garoppolo finally get over that hump of, because let's face it, was he great in the NFC Championship game last year against the Rams? Other than that last play, you could argue that he was fine. Look, I'm not blaming that whole thing on Jimmy Garoppolo. What happened last year was not entirely his fault. So I'm not going to put the blame solely on him. But I still do not fully trust him yet. Let me see what he does if and when the 49ers make the playoffs this year. Because I actually think they will. I think they'll sneak in as like maybe, what seed am I thinking of? Maybe like a 5 seed or something along those lines. But the bottom line is simply this. I trust Christian McCaffrey so far this year because, knock on wood, he actually is healthy this year, as you mentioned, Leo. Let's hope he stays that way. And if he does, again, do not sleep on this team because they could go to the Super Bowl against the Buffalo Bills. And yes, you heard it here first. The Buffalo Bills are going to the Super Bowl. And not only that, me personally, not to get off topic here, Buffalo Bills are winning the whole damn thing this year. You heard it here first.
Hey, listen, real quick, quick first thing about the Buffalo Bills. They were favorites 2 years in a row to win a Super Bowl. So if they don't make it this year, I don't know what to tell you at that point. They're just
true.
At that point, yeah, I don't know.
Literally say if they don't do it this year, then let's just call it what it is. They're not meeting expectations.
I want to get back on topic with the 49ers though. Because it's an important thing.
That was my bad. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, it was definitely not your bad. Trust me. But yeah, the 49ers team, Jimmy G, he's gonna do less work. He at least should do less work with Christian McCaffrey in that backfield now. You know, the running game is there. The offensive line is better than what it was in Carolina. So Christian McCaffrey should get more yards per carry. Emphasize. But I think Jimmy G, if you don't trust him now, then you don't trust him at all, period, because he's not gonna grow anymore. He's shown us what kind of quarterback he is. A quarterback who doesn't lose games. You know, that's the quarterback he is. He doesn't lose games. He's not the guy to go out for the win. He's not the guy to go out for the game-winning drive, but he's the guy who's able to keep the time of possession on his side and make sure that they're getting points on the board, making sure you're getting first downs, making sure the kicker gets those 3 points down the field. That's the kind of quarterback he is. So if you don't trust him now, then you can't trust him at all, because he's not going to get any better than where he's at currently. I think this 49ers team, they added talent. You know, they looking really good, poised on offense that can run the points off the board. And like I said, keep time of possession on their side. I don't see them going from whatever points they're averaging now to 40 points per game. I'm not saying that. I'm saying they'll get points early on. And then when Jimmy G has the ball in his hands, you can anticipate him holding that football for the damn near the whole quarter to make sure that it's not being given away. So that's just the kind of football the 49ers are going to play in hopes that they make a Super Bowl. Before the season started, I had 49ers as a potential team to make it to the Super Bowl, because I said that the team to go to the Super Bowl was coming out the NFC West, rather the Rams or the 49ers, whoever, one of those two. So let's see what happens.
It sure ain't the Rams, I tell you that.
Hell no. With the way the Rams are looking right now, forget it. I mean, look, I don't care if Aaron Donald is the best player on the team. I don't care if Jalen Ramsey considers himself to be one of the best corners in the NFL, which he probably is, but that's beside the point. Their offense looks, I don't want to say anemic, but it doesn't look
it looks shell-shocked.
Stafford is clearly a shell of himself. And look, the Rams, you can forget anything about a Super Bowl repeat if they keep this up.
Nah, for sure. And that's why you bring in CMC, because, like, I always thought the 49ers was too superstar heavy. So if something happened to Debo, now Jimmy G don't have that luxury to throw to him anymore, right? So because you have an injury history and you so, like, superstardom type of dependent, now you have another star on your team to depend on. So now it's not just Debo show, it's CMC and the Debo show, and sometimes the Ayuk show. So you want to go all in. Championship windows are never open as long as you think it is. It's always condensed, and that's why you go all in. And plus, you know who's in your division. You know who's lurking around. Mr. Sean McVay trying to get better. You think he's fine with being mediocre? No, he wants to sniff around and bring in CMC. And he wanted to. And you stole it from him. Just like how he stole Odell from you. How he stole Matthew Stafford from you. Now it's time for the payback and the get back so you can get your payback to go to the Super Bowl. Lil Shadamas on the mic. We'll be back after the break. Keep it locked.